Hey everyone, welcome to Kinesiology 2030. Today's lecture 13 and it's going to be on micronutrients. Again, this comes from chapter 6, but it's going to be a little bit more of a detailed look into micronutrients than the textbook gives. So what we're going to be talking about today are the micronutrients, which are vitamins, minerals, and water. We can argue that water could be considered a macronutrient because of its essential aspect to living. But since water does not yield calories, we will keep it in the micronutrient lecture. So we are going to focus on just that, vitamins, talk about some vitamins, what they are, what are the key ones, what are their roles and functions. We'll do the same with minerals, and then we'll quickly talk about water and the importance of water, which I'm sure everyone already knows, but we'll just talk about a few other aspects of water. So one thing that's interesting about micronutrients is you'd think in the Western diet we would not have any sort of deficiency in vitamins and minerals, but unfortunately we do. If you remember in Nutrition Simplified, we talked about real food. And the best way to get vitamins and minerals is just that, eating real foods. And unfortunately, in the Western diet, we're not eating enough of real foods, and that's leading to deficiencies. Now, deficiencies in vitamins and minerals are not going to lead to death, but they are going to lead to some substantial health issues. If you think of something like calcium, not having enough calcium in your diet can lead to osteoporosis. You think about vitamin D, not having enough vitamin D in your diet could lead to immune compromised issues. So we need to make sure we understand how much certain vitamins we need and what we should be getting for vitamins. I'm not going to be going over things like RDIs and RDAs when it comes to vitamins and minerals. Those you can look up online. It's not hard to do if you're interested in how much you need. Because as I've said, it's individual and it really is going to depend. If you're sedentary, your vitamin intake and needs are going to be a lot less than someone who's active. So we're not going to really get into the numbers of vitamins and minerals, but we are going to talk about the importance of them and some of the sources we can get certain vitamins and minerals in. So let's first look at just that, vitamins. Now, if you look at what the definition of a vitamin is, it's an organic substance that regulates numerous and diverse physiological processes in the body. And it also does not contain calories. Now, a lot of the times when we think because it doesn't contain calories, it's not important. But the reality is it's such an important supporter to the macronutrients for the energy that we need and the energy that it yields because it provides a lot of support. So if you look at things, as I said, calcium supports with bone health. Calcium also plays a role in muscle contractions. If you look at iron helps with transporting oxygen throughout the body. Vitamin D plays key roles in immune system. So does vitamin C. We can look at B12 and how B12 plays a role in energy and creating energy. So a lot of the times these vitamins, we may overlook them, but in reality, they're going to lead to greater performance of the human body. And so that's why obviously we need them for health, but in terms of performance in athletes, we need to make sure that the athletes are getting the right amount of vitamins. Now, there's two types of vitamins, and that's fat soluble and water soluble. So essentially what that means is if it's a fat soluble type vitamin, it's going to really play a role with any type of fat that's happening, and water soluble is going to be more playing a role with any type of water that we have in the body. So fat soluble vitamins will also be extracted differently than water soluble. Fat soluble will be extracted through feces, while water obviously would be excreted through urine. So fat soluble and water soluble both are a little bit different in terms of how they are processed through the body. But the important thing is we need to have them and we need to understand where to get them from. So when we look at vitamin guidelines, one of the biggest things that we need to understand in terms of how to get enough vitamins, it usually comes down to the whole variety, moderation, balanced diet. So if we have a balanced diet that is with variety and we're getting enough greens and yellow vegetables, as well as consuming different types of fruit, whether it's citrus or other types of fruit, um, it's going to help lead to meeting the RDA standards. So if we are balancing our diet and getting the recommended servings of carbohydrates, fats, and proteins through real food, chances are you're getting the right types of vitamins that you need for your body, and you might not need to supplement. I'm a big believer in vitamin supplementation. I don't think it's a problem. Obviously, I rather get my vitamins through food, but I always take a supplement, and I always take a few supplements every day just to make sure, because as I said, if you get too much, vitamin toxicity is very rare. You have to take a very large amount of vitamins to get toxicity, and the toxicity usually is digestional problems. So it's nothing major. So I err on the side of caution when it comes to vitamins and minerals, and I like to supplement. I like to make sure that I'm getting the right types. If you have a healthy diet, it's not necessary, but it's just could be an option for you if you think it's needed. Like I said, I take vitamins every day because they are safe. They usually get to around the 100% RDA. Now, I'm a very active person and I train like an athlete, so my multivitamin or my vitamin and mineral intake is going to increase based on an average person, on that average RDA. So that's another reason why I do supplement it, just to make sure I am getting enough, because depending on diet, depending on part of my program, that's going to change what my diet looks like and what I'm getting a lot of. So there's a lot of potential for really increasing your risk of deficiency based on how you're eating with your training program, right? So sometimes I decrease the amount of protein and fat that I have, which is going to affect some vitamins and minerals. So I just make sure that I take a good, pure multivitamin, and I don't get high toxic doses. But like I said, if you get toxic doses, really what's going to happen is you're going to get some digestional discomfort. But for the most part, if you take too much, your body will get rid of it. And if you do take multivitamins or you take extra vitamins, you probably notice sometimes that your urine is a very, 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 very vibrant color, and that's just the vitamins you're getting rid of. So, it's not a huge deal to overcompensate with vitamins. It's like I said, it's better to err on the side of caution, especially with the Western diet, because you just don't know if you're getting enough. If you're eating real food, you're probably getting enough, but as an active person, you need to be careful. So the foods that you should focus on are obviously fruits and vegetables, because fruits and vegetables are going to be the key to vitamins. Most vitamins that we need are in fruit and vegetables. There's some other vitamins like vitamin K, vitamin D, which are fat soluble vitamins that come from animal sources. But vitamin C, vitamin A, vitamin B's, they are more from the water soluble, and so you're getting them from more of the fruit and vegetables, right? And then there's a couple other things to really think about. Do you cook, steam, microwave your fruits or your vegetables? Because that's going to actually, anytime you see steam rising from a vegetable, it means it's losing your nutrients. It's losing certain nutrients. So cooking vegetables does decrease the nutritional value in terms of vitamins and supplements, or vitamins and minerals. So you do need to be aware of that, because again, most of us probably cook vegetables and eat cooked vegetables, and we don't realize that we're actually losing nutrients when we cook it. So again, vitamin supplementation, I don't have a problem with. It's just making sure that you get the right type of vitamins. Make sure you get the right type of supplements, because you want to make sure that the vitamin supplementation is from real food. It's like a vegan-based type supplement. It's coming from the most highest quality ingredients because that's going to be the best type of multivitamin or vitamin supplementation for you. Now, another thing to talk about, which is extremely important, and really having an understanding of vitamins, is knowing what an antioxidant is. So, an antioxidant plays a real crucial role in helping the body fight off various diseases. So, antioxidants are these natural chemicals found in food, and I'm not going to list the antioxidants. The main antioxidants are vitamin A, vitamin B, vitamin C, and the mineral selenium. Those are really the key antioxidants, but there is a list of several other of these chemicals that we find in food that are considered antioxidant, and the list grows yearly as they find new sources. Now, the interesting thing about antioxidants is they actually are more effective when consumed from food sources versus supplementation. So if you just take a supplementation with vitamin A, B, C, and selenium, you're going to be getting higher amounts of those antioxidants, but it's actually we're starting to see that the interactions from those vitamins and that mineral with the natural chemicals that are found in food are going to actually decrease the amount of free radicals in our body more efficiently than just taking the vitamin and the selenium supplements. So that's the main point of antioxidant, is to counter effect what's called a free radical or an oxygen free radical. So free radicals are they're formed in the body, and they could happen from anything from X-rays to ultraviolet radiation and pollution to illness to training. Any type of stress on the body really creates free radicals. So we're starting to implicate high free radical numbers in the body with things like cancer and heart disease. So what research is suggesting is, in order to decrease our risk of free radical induced cancer or heart disease, we should be getting up to 5 to 7 servings of antioxidant rich foods, and that will lower the risk of not only cancer, heart disease caused by free radicals, but also free radicals can cause illness. It can cause the flu. It can cause injuries. It can cause overtraining. It just all depends on what free radical specific stress that's being put on your body. If the free radicals are being caused from physical training, then that's going to increase your risk of injury and increase the risk of overtraining and illness. So what are some high antioxidant rich sources? Well, it's always really the most colorful, dark fruits and veggies that have the best antioxidant source. So I've listed a few of my favorites in terms of what I like, to eat in order to get a good significant amount of antioxidants in my body. So things like broccoli, cantaloupe, carrot, kale, mango, pumpkin, red pepper, spinach, strawberries, sweet potato, acai berries. No, there's more too. Blueberries, raspberries. It's just anything that's really dark, and colorful fruits and vegetables. All right, so if we are getting 5 to 7 servings of these specific fruit and vegetables every day, then chances are we have enough antioxidants to help fight the free radicals. So what exactly is happening in terms of this free radical versus antioxidant fight in the body? So what happens is we have these normal oxygen atoms in our body, and what they are is these electrons are paired off, and they have this, that's what creates a normal oxygen atom. But what happens is when we get any type of this stress, like pollution or training stress or mental stress, we lose one of those paired off electrons, and that creates an imbalanced molecule. and that becomes a free radical. And then what the free radicals do is they set off a chain reaction. So they actually are desperate to try and find a partner for that lost electron, and they go to other atoms and cells and essentially start eroding the cell membrane, really because they're trying to find this electron. And it ends up just being more of a damaging part of the cell versus a healthy part of the cell, because it's such an unpredictable atom. So what an antioxidant is it neutralizes the free radicals, because an antioxidant is an atom with unpaired electron chains that circulate looking for these free radicals, and then lending or giving the electron to pair that normal oxygen atom again, and then it becomes a healthier part, a molecule, a healthier atom for the cells. So it's not going to be eroding the cells. Again, it's going to be doing what it's supposed to do, which is regulating metabolism, regulating immune function, regulating muscle contractions. So a free radical is anytime we lose an electron on a normal oxygen atom. It erodes the cell membrane, which allows for viruses and illnesses to attack this interior of the cell. And the antioxidant will essentially go around and neutralize the free radical by giving one of its electrons to the unpaired electron. So that's why we want to make sure we have enough antioxidants in our body so we don't have the free radicals. So that's vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin E, and the mineral selenium. So vitamin A is, obviously, we know carrots, beta carotene is a high source of vitamin A, and vitamin A plays a role as a free radical, but also in things like eyesight and other immune functions. Vitamin C, which we find in citrus foods, vitamin C is very important for immune function as well. Having the right amount of vitamin C will keep our immune system strong. Vitamin E is mainly going to be, again, immune system, because it is a free radical. Now, another one I want to talk about is a fat-soluble vitamin, which is vitamin D. So vitamin D has some key roles into it. Vitamin D actually will help the body absorb calcium. So we talk a lot about calcium deficiency and not getting enough calcium, but a lot of people don't realize that you also need to make sure you're getting adequate amount of vitamin D. You can be getting enough vitamin or enough calcium every single day, but still have weak bones because you don't have enough vitamin D. So vitamin D and calcium play a role in terms of getting the calcium to the bones, because it helps absorb the calcium. Vitamin D is also a key part of the immune system as well. We're starting to see that vitamin D actually plays a bigger role in immune function than vitamin C. And so we need to make sure we're getting an adequate amount of vitamin D as well as vitamin C to help our immune system. And so what happens is, when we're deficient in vitamin D, we get sick easier. We get bone and back pain. We also look at having bone and hair loss. So vitamin D is a vitamin that actually is going to play a real key role in keeping us healthy and keeping our immune system strong. It's also important for athletes to make sure they get more vitamin C or vitamin D, because training does decrease immune function. And so if we have high vitamin D, vitamin C, our immune system will be strong, and it will help with recovery. So sources of vitamin D, the best source of vitamin D is sunshine. But a lot of people don't understand that we actually are blocking the sun even when it's out. When we put sunscreen on, that doesn't allow the vitamin D from the sun to absorb into our skin. If we're wearing clothes, it doesn't help absorb into our skin. The recommendations are anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes of sun exposure twice a week is enough when it comes to vitamin D. But that means we need to make sure we're not clothed or wearing sunscreen. Ideally, if you can keep your arms bare, your legs bare, or get some on your back, get some in your face, that's going to give us enough vitamin D. Since vitamin D is a fat-soluble vitamin, it does store as well. So that's why it's only really twice a week we need. Obviously, we live in a place where the sun does not shine all the time. So that's one reason why we are vitamin D deficient in the Lower Mainland. So we need to make sure that the times when we're not getting enough sun, we need to make sure we're getting adequate amount through supplements and through food. So food that's high in vitamin D are egg yolks, fatty fish, vitamin D fortified dairy. Those are great sources of vitamin D. And personally, I take vitamin D in my omega-3 supplement. So I take 1,000 EPA of omega-3s with 1,000 IUs of vitamin D. So I find that if I get that extra 1,000 IUs, plus with my diet, I should be getting the sufficient amount, which is anywhere from 5 to 10,000 IUs, depending on age, activity level, everything like that. Even genetics, where you live. I mean, everyone's vitamin D is different. Another one to look at is vitamin B12. Vitamin B12 is one that has really hit the mainstream recently. Vitamin B12 plays a huge role in physiology. So vitamin B12 ensures that red blood cells, brain function, and nerve tissue remain healthy and productive. If you are an athlete and you are regularly training and breaking your body down, vitamin B12 plays a key role in recovery when it comes to what's happening through training. When we damage our cells because of training, it will help with recovery. Vitamin B12 also helps make DNA. The sources are very similar to vitamin D. Vitamin B12 is high in fish and eggs and dairy products. So for the most part, we don't need to supplement B12 if you're taking a multivitamin and eating real foods and eating nuts and legumes and green leafy vegetables are also high in vitamin B12. Then you're probably not enough. Vegans and vegetarians tend to be the ones who are prone to B12 deficiency. And deficiency symptoms of B12 are fatigue as well as decrease in muscle strength, irritability, depression, decline in mental ability, and that's all just because of tiredness. So people who are tired all the time, they seem to be getting enough sleep, but they just don't have enough energy to work out or be active. Sometimes vitamin B12 deficiency might be the answer, and it's good to look into that. So that's really the gist on vitamins. If there's any takeaways I can give you from vitamins is make sure you're getting adequate vitamin C, vitamin D, and B12. Those are really the three vitamins that are going to keep us healthy and keep our immune system strong and keep our body strong. They play real pivotal roles. And of course, antioxidants as well. But as I suggested, antioxidants you got to get through food. It's better because the interaction between the vitamin A, C, E, and selenium is key with those antioxidant. So let's look at minerals now. So when it comes to minerals, the definition of the minerals are inorganic elements found in food that are essential to the life processes. So much like vitamins, we look at minerals in terms of being important in metabolizing macronutrients as well as assisting in energy production, bone density, muscle contractions, a lot of the physiological aspects that we need to know about as kinesiologists. So it's important to understand minerals and some of the minerals. There's about 25 essential minerals, which mean that those are 25 minerals that we need to obtain through diet. and they're going to be classified as either major or trace minerals. Now, we're going to look through a couple of the major minerals that play really key roles in kinesiology. Now, RDAs are constantly changing when it comes to minerals. You know, they've determined really about 7, but we're starting to see, even in the last year, that they're understanding more about minerals and putting RDAs on more. So some of the minerals really to focus on are things like calcium, fluoride, iodine, iron, magnesium, phosphorus, selenium, zinc, potassium, sodium, chloride. So, I mean, there's 11 right there. But when it comes to the RDA, really the ones we want to focus mainly on are calcium, iron, magnesium, selenium, zinc, sodium, potassium. Right, those are some of the ones that we really want to focus on in terms of hitting the RDAs. But most of the other ones, you're probably going to be getting the RDAs through a basic diet. And so again, when it comes down to, what should we be eating? Well, it's just like anything else. If we're eating a diet of real food with the balanced variety of carbohydrates, fats, and proteins, we're probably going to hit all the RDA standards. So making sure that we get extra servings of green and yellow vegetables are going to be beneficial, much like we looked at with vitamins. But a real key thing too is understanding calcium and making sure you're getting enough of it, because calcium further down in life, if we're not getting enough calcium, is going to really hamper your health and your quality of life. And then something like salt, sodium, it should be limited in diet. Sodium obviously it plays a key role in electrolyte balance and neural drive and action potential. But it is linked to high blood pressure. I've been reading some things that are suggesting maybe it's not as linked to high blood pressure as we first thought, but because there is research that shows that salt intake does increase blood pressure, it's something that it's recommended to limit. Now, that increase is starting to show only about 5%, which isn't a huge amount, but if you do have high blood pressure, that 5% could be substantial for you. So salt should be limited in diet, and unfortunately we do live in a society that puts a lot of salt in the food for food to preserve our food. So let's look at a few of the minerals that are kind of hot topics right now, kind of helping us, with living healthier and looking at how to really perform better. So one of them is magnesium. So magnesium, much like calcium, vitamin D, it does play a role in bone health, but also with energy production. There is a study from years ago in 2001 that indicates it improves sleep in mice. So that's why you're probably starting to hear, take magnesium to help with your sleep. It also helps with regulating muscle and nerve function, and it is helping to balance blood sugar levels as well. So you can see how a mineral can really play a key role in health and performance. I mean, bone health, energy production, is helping sleep, regulating functions of muscles and nerves, balancing blood sugar. That's really crucial. So magnesium is one of those foods where it's a little bit hard to get in diet. Spinach is high in magnesium. Pumpkin seeds are high in magnesium. Artichokes, Brazilian nuts, high in magnesium as well. Magnesium we see as a very deficient mineral in our society, and I always think that it's worthwhile supplementing magnesium, even if it's just a little bit. I supplement magnesium. I also have 4 Brazilian nuts a day, which helps get to the level of magnesium you need. And again, if you're someone who's physically active, your magnesium levels are going to need to be higher. All right, and that's just the fact. Another one that's really important, and I really stress in almost every class I teach, even when we get into 3303, I really stress the importance of calcium because 40% of the population is not getting enough calcium in their diet. So we're starting to see a high percentage of our population is just not getting enough calcium. And it's just we don't understand. And I'll show you a visual of what enough calcium for an active person would be. So biggest thing with calcium is it improves skeletal system health. So it helps with teeth, bones, nails, hair, anything that's associated with the skeletal system. It improves the health because calcium is so important. But also, if you're not getting enough magnesium and vitamin D, it's not going to be able to do its job because it's not going to have those interacting minerals and vitamins that help with absorption. So the recommended daily intake for sedentary adults is 1,000 micrograms per day. For people who are active, heavily active athletes, 1,200 to 1,500 micrograms a day. So you can see 15. I always err again, side of caution. I try to get 1,500 micrograms of calcium just to make sure that my bones are strong. Because if you're an athlete or you're someone who's lifting heavy weights or having muscle contractions that are forceful, it takes a toll on your bones too. And if your bones aren't strong enough, eventually you'll get some sort of fracture because of lack of density and the force that's being put on the bones. So it's important to make sure that you're getting the right amount of micrograms per day. Typical deficiency syndrome, the big one, obviously, is osteoporosis, muscle cramps, muscle fatigue, muscle soreness, tooth decay, brittle nails. Those are all symptoms of calcium deficiency. So what I have up here next is a visual of what is 1,500 micrograms. So the next picture you're going to see is a bunch of food, and it is a visual representation of what you should be eating per day. So this here is it's 1,250 micrograms. That's what this is. So it is 4 cups of spinach, 2 servings of milk, 2 servings of yogurt, 2 eggs, 2 servings of almonds, and 2 servings of cheese. So that's what you see there. And that there is, if you're eating that per day, you are getting enough calcium. All right. So a lot of people, they don't realize, they're always thinking like, oh, I'm just going to, eat spinach and that's going to get me the calcium I need. But if you're not eating dairy products, then your green leafy vegetables intake needs to be about 25 to 30 cups a day if you want to get enough in your green leafy vegetables. So this here, like I said, visual representation of what 1,250 micrograms of calcium is. So take a look at that and think to yourself, am I getting enough calcium in a day? The next one I want to look at, and the last one as well that I feel is important, is iron. So iron is huge in terms of health and performance because it is an essential mineral, and what it does is it supports blood production as well as energy transformation. So 70% of your body's iron is actually found in red blood cells, and this is referred to as hemoglobin. And hemoglobin is essential for transferring oxygen in your blood from the lungs to the tissues. So, if you don't have enough iron in your body, then what happens is you will get iron deficiency, which leads to fatigue, decreased performance, paleness, just not enough blood circulating through the body, not enough oxygen circulating through the body. So, usually, if you're iron deficiency becomes a problem in a few populations: vegans, vegetarians, because meat is a high source of iron. If you eat, I think if you're eating a serving of meat a day, you're gonna have enough iron in your body. So vegans, vegetarians obviously aren't getting that. So in some cases, they're going to have iron deficiency. Because again, you can get iron in something like spinach, but the amount of spinach you need to eat in order to obtain the amount of iron you need in a day is substantial. Um, so iron deficiency, it tends to be in vegans and vegetarians, and also women, especially during menstruation, because of the blood loss. And so at those times, we could see iron deficiency as well. So if you're working with someone who's a vegan, a vegetarian, especially an athlete vegan, athlete vegetarian, supplementation may have to be introduced to make sure that enough iron is being obtained for that person. So that leaves off minerals, and as I said, calcium, magnesium, iron, selenium. Those are three really crucial minerals. You can look at sodium, potassium, because they're electrolytes and they play a real key role in neural activation. Obviously, action potentials, the amount of sodium and potassium permeability in the cell helps with neural communication between the nervous system and the muscular system. So those are obviously going to be important as well. Things like fluoride are important. They play a key role in dental health. We're starting to see a little bit more research and understanding in zinc and what zinc is doing. Zinc is starting to show actually increase in memory. So taking a zinc supplement, zinc is a hard one to get in food. So zinc supplement, a lot of doctors are actually starting to prescribe zinc for people because it does help with memory and nervous system regulation. So every year, it seems we have a better understanding of minerals and what minerals we should be taking. But as I said, for the most part, it's understanding your diet, understanding what you need if you're an athlete or not, or you're someone who's physically active, understanding what you need in terms of athletes. Iron, magnesium, calcium, sodium, potassium are really the key ones to look at. And then that brings us to water. So as I said, water is a important part of life. Obviously, it's vital to life. Our body is mainly, it's a high percentage of our body is water. We can be up to 70 to 75 to 80% water depending on the person. So water amounts in a person is going to fluctuate. Everyone's going to hold a different amount of water. The old adage has always been drink at least 8 glasses a day. That's a typical one. There's 2 that I always suggest. Cut your body weight in half and drink that much in ounces. So if you're like me, 190-pound individual, so cut that in half, that's 90. So 90 ounces of water per day. You can use your weight in kilograms, which is very similar, right? So I'm 86 kilograms. So that would be about 86 ounces. So personally, I always try to hit around 80 to 90 ounces of water per day. I find that's enough. You do also have to understand that it's not so much water, it's fluid, right? So if you're drinking 50 ounces of water a day, but you drink milk, you drink 2 cups of milk a day. Well, that's fluid, and that's going to act as water, and that's going to play a role in that 90 ounces a day as well, right? So when it comes to beverages, I always suggest count water, and things like milk. Anything that isn't high in sugar, or coffee, tea, soft drinks, which has um, caffeine, which is a diuretic, which actually will dehydrate you. Fruit juices and pops that tend to be empty calories, so avoid those. So water is always the better option. Also, if you drink alcohol, understand alcohol is a diuretic, so alcohol will dehydrate you as well. That's essentially what a hangover is. It's just you've dehydrated yourself, and it's your body's response to that dehydration. So staying hydrated is really key throughout the day. And like I said, you can go with 8 glasses a day. Personally, I like the ounces. I like using my body weight because it's obviously specific, right? So 8 glasses a day. So if we look at 8 glasses, which would be a cup, I assume. So a cup is 8 ounces. So if you're drinking 8 cups of water per day, you're at 64 ounces. So, for me, I don't feel that's enough. For someone who's 64 kilograms, it's probably enough, right? So I like that body weight water contrast, because that it makes it specific. Makes it specific to you, your body weight, and how much you truly need as an individual. So a lot of the times, we don't really understand water and what it does, but there's actually lots of important functions to water. It comprises anywhere from 60 to 75% of our body weight. Water is chief component of blood. So blood plasma is mainly made up of water. So if we didn't have water, we wouldn't be able to produce as much blood. It helps with temperature regulation. It also helps produce synovial fluid, which lubricates our joints. It's also part of shock absorbers in our eyes, spinal cord, the amniotic sac during pregnancy. It also plays an active role in a lot of chemical reactions. So water really does serve a variety of functions in the body, and it helps cool the body down because, as I said, with temperature regulation, because sweat. When we sweat, that cools the body down. We can shift water in our body to help warm certain areas up and keep areas warm. So water plays a pivotal role. As an athlete, it plays a very important role for performance. A dehydrated athlete is not going to perform well. Muscle contractions will decrease. Nervous system function will decrease. So we need to make sure athletes are drinking enough water. All right? So water, vital to life, vital to performance, vital to health. So when it comes to micronutrients, I talked about, who should be counting calories. But if you just follow, ideally, if you just follow these sound eating practices, chances are you're getting the right amount of macronutrients and the right amount of micronutrients. So a good rule of thumb in nutrition is consistency with variety. So if you're consistently eating the same amount of servings with different types of food, you're probably eating healthy enough, especially if you're choosing more real food options, right? So moderation is another sound eating practice as well. Make sure we all have our guilty pleasures, making sure that we eat them in a moderate amount. really try and minimize the reliance on fast foods. The biggest problem with fast foods are, as humans, the path to the least resistance is always something that we sort of abide by. And fast foods is really the ultimate path to the least resilient, path to least resistance. So, minimizing your need of fast food is important, because fast food, it's not high in micronutrients. There's not a lot of vitamins and minerals in fast foods. Uh, Again, stick with real foods. So minimize your consumption of overly processed food products and that are high in hydrogenated fats. The saturated fats with trans fats. If you have to snack, try and snack healthily. So a great way to increase micronutrient consumption is by snacking on nuts and seeds and legumes, because they're very high in vitamins and minerals, and they're calorie dense. And one of the key things is when you're eating, make sure you have a colorful plate. If you have a colorful plate and half the plate is fruits, vegetables, real fruits, vegetables, a quarter is meat, the other quarter is carbohydrate, you're probably going to be getting adequate, healthy meals that are going to be enriched with macro and micronutrients. All right, everyone. Thank you very much for listening to this lecture. I will put up a micronutrient section in the discussion board. If you have any questions, please feel free. We will be talking a little bit about supplementation coming up soon, but if you have any questions on supplements, please feel free to ask them on the micronutrient discussion board. All right, thanks everyone. Have a fantastic day.